Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piorwarski, coming to you live from the East Coast, the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most here on The Rundown. 2A views, conservative news, and you know what, Craig? Today's a special day.
Yes, it is.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos.
It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yum. It's like a dream.
That's right, folks. It is like a dream. We are here on Taco Tuesday, enjoying life. Apologize for not being on the air yesterday. Fortunately, had some technical difficulties, but we're back.
Yeah, I was defending the house here from space balloons, so I don't know about you. Chinese space balloons.
Chinese space balloons were blocking our signal yesterday, making it very difficult for us to be able to be on the air. That's what happened. At least that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yep. What do you think of this shirt, Craig? I think I don't know if I like this yellow. You like this yellow?
It looks very summery.
Summer. It's not too bright. It's like too bright. It's okay. It works.
It's quite bright. It is definitely quite bright. But see, then again, you are in Florida, so I think I think you can get away with it.
I could just go to the black instead.
Oh, you could just go with the black if you want, but looks good either way. Looks good either way.
Yellow?
Yeah, no. Will you stop flashing me, please? Thank you.
Yeah, because I have jet black skin. Yeah, I'm all of a
There
sudden.
And how was your weekend, sir?
Yeah, not too bad. Was up in the NYC this weekend, up in New York City. Spent the Saturday and Sunday up there, doing some family stuff. So went pretty fun. Except for the temperature. Guess the temperature on Saturday morning in New York City.
I don't know, 10 degrees?
4. And I'm not missing a digit there. It was 4.
It was
4.
4 degrees.
4. Yeah, and that's that's just stupid. There was no snow, there was no ice, not even a lot of wind. It was just 4. I'm like, what's the point? Just either get us down to minus 20 and blow the snow, or take us up to 50 degrees. Relax with this 4 nonsense. So
Don't know what to tell you, bruh. And I imagine that must have been quite a culture, a shock, being as you are from Florida, where 50 is considered 50s are considered winter weather.
let's be clear on this. I am not from Florida. I am from New York City. I just happen to live in Florida for the last half of my life. So
New York City, get a rope.
the the liquid that runs in my veins, besides the vodka and amp, is New York City red.
I knew you had a New York liberal in you somewhere.
Yeah, the liberal in me got left up there.
There you go. There you go. You just go
Why I'm
visit
down
it every once in a while.
That's it. Yep. Exactly.
All right, well, hey, before we get into today's stories, let's go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsors.
Let's say hey to our good friends over at Hitman Industries at hitmanindustries.net, hitmanindustries.net. If you got yourself an AR in the past 5 years, probably got one of their barrels and you don't even know it. And now you can go buy from them direct for your next build or to rebarrel your current rifle. hitmanindustries.net. Say hi to our good friends at the California Republican Assembly, fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Well, now you could be involved in California's future today. Just check out the California Republican Assembly. If you want some awesome field gear, some tactical gear, some warm weather gear to wear when it's 4 outside, go see our friends at uscombatgear.com. That's uscombatgear.com. And of course, not too late. I think there's enough time. Still have enough time. If you want yourself a nice tactical concealed holster, the best on the market to buy for yourself or your loved one on Valentine's Day. Just go to Hog Holsters, HAWGholsters.com. That's HAWGholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. All one word, all caps, no spaces.
That's right, folks. These are our sponsors. They bring us to you so that, we can bring you to them. So do us a favor. Do yourself a favor. Follow the links in the description to this program. Go check them out and spend some money with them. Make sure you tell them that the guys over at The Rundown sent you. Also want to encourage you, if you have not already done so, please remember, like, share, subscribe, like, share, subscribe. Encourage your friends to do the same. Let them know that the algorithms will not win. That we're going to spread the word about what's going on here at The Rundown. We don't care how you partake. We just care that you partake.
You know, Craig, not to get off on a tangent, every time you say algorithm, I think of the movie DC Cab. Because do you remember the one character's name in there was Mr. Rhythm? And all I could think of was maybe his first name was Al. It's
maybe his
algorithm.
first name is Al.
It's algorithm.
I doubt it, but hey, why not?
Yep. I don't know why.
Yeah. Let's go with that.
Mr. Rhythm.
All right, let's get into today's news. Obviously, I think the news that's going on all around the world, and you know, not that we necessarily have a particular take on. I don't know what kind of take you can really have on it, but obviously the disaster which has taken place there in Turkey, Turkey and Syria, there was a massive earthquake. It was a 7.8 or 7.5 earthquake that took place. Between that and the aftershocks, there has been massive destruction there in Turkey and in Syria. And right now, they're still combing through all of the debris. There have been a total of about 5,000 identified dead, and they're estimating, Mike. Yeah, okay, there it is, 7.8. Mike, they are estimating that number could rise as high as 10,000. And, you know, I got to tell you, I don't recall, at least since 9/11, do I recall just a moment where I was watching television and just in clear and utter shock watching some of these buildings come down. I will say it's been really good to see people from all over the world, you know, countries from all over the world sending their folks over there to try and help with saving of lives and pulling people out of that rubble.
Yeah, listen, always good to see charity and assistance being sent that way. I was over in that region, Craig, in 2005 when the Kashmir earthquake hit, and that was a 7.6 magnitude, I believe. Was not very far away from that one, and there were 86,000 killed in that earthquake. So to give you the idea of how large that earthquake was, it's a unique experience. I don't know the biggest one you've ever been through there in California, Craig, but this one was. It looked as if vehicles were trying to leap off the ground like bucking bulls. Buildings, just forget about them. Anything that was not built to a European or an American standard just tumbled to the ground. So it's I've definitely been through and seen the devastation of those, and it's great that the rest of the world is sending aid at this point. So we'll just say that.
I think for me, the worst was probably the 1989 San Francisco earthquake. That was one that was felt. I was not in the Bay Area, but you could feel it as far away as where I was in Chico, which was like 4 hours away. You could feel it. It shut down everything. I guess, the one thing, and I've never been a big fan of over-regulation or government regulation. I will say this, I am very grateful for American building standards.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of what they're dealing with in these countries is they don't have the same building standards that we do. And so you're seeing a lot of these buildings that just are, if they didn't come down in the initial earthquake, the aftershocks, they've been so weakened by that initial earthquake that the aftershocks are bringing some of those buildings down, and it is just devastating to watch.
Yeah, and we had aftershocks there for months. I mean, obviously within the first couple of days, a couple of majors that were still, 5 and 6s on the Richter scale. But yeah, aftershocks for months. And Yeah, you're right. I mean, listen, when you build a mud hut, it's not like you're putting a lot of rebar in it, So that's this kind of stuff that we had going on where we were.
Yeah. Well, folks, just remember, please take some time, take a moment, send your prayers over there. If you want to send a few dollars to the relief agencies that are out there helping those folks, there's going to be a lot of need for a lot of people out there. So once again, keep them in your prayers, and maybe send a little bit of resources their way so that they can they can get some assistance.
There you go.
All right, now we'll move on to the Politico talk, which is really more of our forte. This first next item has to do with the 13th Amendment. Now, there is a judge in the D.C. Circuit, and this judge in the D.C. Circuit is trying to say that the 13th Amendment, which provides which basically prohibits slavery, actually in there is a constitutional right to abortion. Now, here's their argument. What they're saying is they're trying to refer to like if not allowing a woman to have an abortion, they're considering it to be, as you see here, forced pregnancy, meaning by forcing them to be a mother, to carry a child and birth a mother, that is forced servitude. So therefore, it should be considered you should have a constitutional right to have an abortion. And now, Mike, there are just so many different ways in which this concept is wrong. The first of which being that unless someone forced you to have sex and get impregnated, how is this considered? And by the way, you knew that, pregnancy was a potential outcome of having sex. How is this exactly as this forced servitude?
Yeah. First off, Craig, the judge there in D.C. needs to lay off the glaucoma medication. All right, this is about the furthest you can get from forced servitude. You're exactly right. Craig. If I came around and I put the old gun to the woman's head and forced her to have sex to give me children to till the fields for the next generation. That would definitely be illegal, and that's what the 13th Amendment covers. It does not cover consensual decisions to go out and have sex and have a baby, and then when you decide you don't want it anymore, you get to kill it. That's not a forced servitude. That's you choosing to end the life of your unborn child. Greg, if you went the narrow scope on this and said, okay, this woman was raped, or this is a matter of incest. Well, most of the state laws already cover that. So that's a very narrow focus that you'd be talking about with this law. And again, most states already have that the exemption in there.
Well, what's funny is, and I think they made it very clear when they made this decision, when they came down with the Dobbs decision, first and foremost, they were talking about how the initial decision was wrongly decided. So this judge's argument is, well, we've never even considered whether the Supreme Court has never even considered whether or not the 13th Amendment protects the right to an abortion. So therefore, it ought to be considered. And then her point was that they said it wasn't that there is no longer a right, is that has never been a right. The judge is right about that in terms of, yes, they made it very clear there never was a constitutional right to an abortion. At least not by the 14th Amendment. And quite frankly, I believe, even though they didn't discuss it, I do believe that they're saying, period, point blank, even including the 13th Amendment. Yeah, no, there is no constitutional right to an abortion. Just because they didn't mention the 13th Amendment doesn't mean that mean that that's a possible out for them.
Yeah, they didn't mention the Third Amendment either, Craig, right? And that would work here. Let's see. Let's play this out. You're not allowed to house soldiers in private residences. Well, the government comes along and they put their babies in these women's body and they grow there, and that's their new home. So there you go. That could be a potential argument.
Their argument is things that weren't discussed or debated now is a potential argument. I'm sorry. Yeah. That is stupid.
Yes.
That is just dumb. But once again, this is a judge as many judges on the left are, they've made up their mind as to what they believe is right. And so now they're going to back into what is right by just making up stuff or making up arguments. And, as long as people agree with their outcome, they don't really care if the arguments hold water or not.
That's it. We want to have the argument. We want to take up your time. We want to waste your time and not worry about real facts. We just want to have the argument.
Right. Well, like I said, their goal is to undo what has been done. And once again, they don't care whether or not the argument is good or not. It actually makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Speaking about arguments or things that just do not make sense, I was reading this article in The Hill, and in this article, one of the things that they point out, they did a poll, and in this poll, they asked parents, "How do you feel? Who do you trust more when it comes to K-12 education?" And oddly enough, in spite of the fact that Democrats were the ones who shut down our schools, harming our children for generations, those who were in states run by Democrats, but harming our children's future, those who are installing things like critical race theory and woke agenda and are promoting things like drag story time or something like that. That's what Democrats are doing. And still, parents seem to be trusting Democrats in this poll more than they trust Republicans. They found that 46% of those surveyed said parents trust Democrats to lead primary education policy, while 38% favor Republicans, 16% were undecided. Mike, I don't get this. These must be public educated morons that they that they polled.
When you read this poll and you read the statement from the individual there that helped to author this poll, you're like, oh, this is the biggest piece of liberal garbage that I've read today. That's what this was. They did everything but double negative the questions in there. Do you not like Democrats? It was ridiculous. This was clearly a biased, one-sided poll because they've been taking a beating in education. They've been taking a beating all around the country from state houses, governors' races. They've been taking a beating with this whole woke nonsense they're trying to put in everybody's schools. Not to mention what governors like DeSantis and now Huckabee Sanders and Abbott are doing, fighting back against it. And so this poll was clearly a design to try and influence not the poll takers' opinions, the poll recipients, because they were really just one-sided questions. But now they get to release it and say, look, Democrats are better in education. It's one of those headlines, Craig, where if we didn't have a show to do and want to make sure everybody knew this information, I think you and I would have just went, oh, that's a lie, and glanced over it and gone to the next topic. But we want to make sure everybody else knows about this.
Well, exactly, because once again, as I took statistics in college, and my professor said, there's lies, there's damn lies, and then there's statistics. These people literally wrote this poll in a way in which, in order to get the response that they did, and they still couldn't get even half of the people to say that they liked Democrats more than Republicans.
38. Yeah, it wasn't even like a landslide. Yeah, they couldn't even do that. Yeah.
Right. In the end, once again, what is happening is you have an awakening among parents. In particular, conservative. Not even. I won't even say conservative parents. You have an awakening among parents. The one thing that I think the lockdown did with the distance learning was parents who otherwise were not paying attention all of a sudden got a chance to see what their kids were learning or rather not learning, and it woke them up to say, wait a minute, what is going on in our public schools? Because at that very same time, the woke CRT, drag queen story time agenda was kicking into full motion. And people are like, and for some reason, these education leaders thought that this was okay. And they found out real quick from parents that no, it's not okay. And once again, they're here trying to shut the stuff down. And the problem is in many of these cases, you have parents who don't even know that these kids are that the people who are pushing these policies are in fact are in fact the Democrats. Just saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, listen, we get to they get to retrain they get to train the next generation. We saw this happen. We saw Eric Holder say this years ago on his videotaped speech there that this was how to combat guns in the future, was to start brainwashing the kids in school while the Republicans weren't paying attention. And guess what we're dealing with now? We're dealing with the ramifications of that now. So this is more of it. This is them attempting to take back the schools and force the next generation of politics onto you.
Well, okay, so Mike, now this next story is actually close to home for you. But once again, talking about lies and indoctrination, you have the Newtown Alliance has basically come out. Obviously, Newtown, they're basically a group, they're an anti-gun group, but they came out the other day because they're looking at instituting constitutional carry there in Florida. And they came out and they put out a tweet and they're saying, look, there is no such thing as constitutional carry. And down here in the tweet, and you can read the tweet they have here, it says, just to be clear, there is no such thing as constitutional carry. The Constitution didn't give anyone the right to carry guns publicly without permits, background checks, or training. This term is fabricated by the gun lobby to push for its any guns to anyone, anywhere agenda. Now, what gets me about this, Mike, is keep in mind, these are the people who coined phrases that have no real meaning, like assault weapon or ghost guns or gun violence, or they're the ones who coined all these phrases that have absolutely no meaning, and yet they're going to accuse folks in the Second Amendment community. By the way, the quote unquote gun lobby, not the Second Amendment civil rights advocates. Who's the one coining phrases and lying to people?
Yeah, this is ridiculous. Greg. And you know what? You want to have the conversation with them? Bring up inconsistencies about the Sandy Hook shooting. I'm not talking about denying it or anything like that. But if they're going to throw out lies, why can't I make a few nods towards that direction, huh? Why is it that they get to do whatever they want to, and it's all right and accepted? But if you and I happen to mention it in passing, that all of a sudden we end up in court over it. I think, Craig, I really do. I think I understand why they released this information. I think why they came out with this was, if you look at the date, this is last week's. They came up with these and set this out last week in up there in Newtown. It was 40 below zero, Greg. 40 below with a wind chill of 100 below. I think every one of their brains froze. I think all the juices in the brain froze, and they went frozen brain dead. And this is what came out when they started talking.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea of constitutional carry is simply saying, look, you know what? I have the Constitution. I shouldn't need to get a permit in order to be able to defend myself outside of my home. We now know that you have a fundamental right to defend yourself with a firearm, to have a firearm in your possession outside of your home in order to be able to defend yourself. In other words, your right to defend yourself doesn't stop at your front door. And passing these policies, first of all, if we just said, look, it's just flat Constitution, then we wouldn't need to pass these laws. People would just be carrying firearms all around. The point is that what you're saying is the Constitution is the only permit that I need.
That's it. That's all there is to it. But again, the small frozen brains of those out of Newtown can't see that. They want to scare you into believing that the founding fathers never meant for you to carry a firearm. Although it's just written plainly in the Constitution, right, Craig? Shall not be infringed. That's not enough. But Mike, there's no historical context. You have no idea what they were thinking. I don't know. Maybe I could look at something like, what's it called? The Federalist Papers, right? And see every one of what the founding fathers was thinking about. Well, not every one of the founding fathers, but, majority of them, and see exactly what they're thinking and their reasoning behind it. But no, Greg, why would we want to bore ourselves with things like facts, research, history?
Because facts get in the way of their agenda. That's why. Yeah, we cannot get in the way of the agenda. Yep. That's bad. Bad Michael. Bad Michael.
I'm telling you, I'm going to give him an out. I'm going to call it frozen brain syndrome from last week. I'm going to give him an out. Yeah. Yeah. We could get Dr. Fauci on it. He's got a shot for it. He's got a shot for
There
it.
you go. I'm sure he's got a shot for it. He'll come out with it. He'll figure it out.
Shot of sunshine, baby. Come on to Florida.
All right, moving right along, we're going to go to our parting shots today, brought to you by Hog Holsters. That's hogholsters.com. Go there, get your holster today. Make sure to use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your holster today. Another thing that happened over the weekend, Mike, well, let's just say that there was a spy balloon shot down over the Atlantic Ocean. Well, let me clarify. This spy balloon traveled the entire length of the North America, went across the entire country, and until we finally shot it down once it was over the water there in the Atlantic Ocean. So basically, after they got all of the spy information that they wanted, we finally shot it down. And
Allegedly.
What'd you say?
Allegedly shot it down.
Allegedly shot it down. So we have some images for you of the balloon. Here's the. Let me come back here because I just realized I did not have on that one. I did not have my microphone on.
Yeah, I was wondering where you went there.
I'm like, what the heck happened there? Okay, wait, let's do this.
That's right. That's right. It's still you know what? That's what happens when a spy balloon goes over your house. It blocks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There we go. Okay. So here you've got the weather balloon, and it says on it, basically it says weather balloon. That's just bad. That's just bad right there. It says totally not for spying. It's just a weather balloon.
What's it say? Come on. It's a Chinese weather balloon. It says weather balloon, totally not for spying.
Totally not for spying. Okay. Now this was another one. Now there was a second balloon that was seen. I believe this one was shot down somewhere over Missouri. But this one had a direct message. I think this one was really meant for California.
Yes. This one, it just drifted off course. They was heading towards California, went to see old Representative Swallowwell. And here it is.
It says Eric.
Happy Valentine's Day. Love Fang Fang.
But not to be outdone, you also had the Germans decided that they were going to send a weather balloon.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, a spy balloon, not a weather balloon, a spy balloon.
German spy balloon.
Spy balloon.
It's
all right, there you
go.
For Oktoberfest.
Yep.
Sadly, though, Mike, the worst part about all of this was how the Defense Department just seemed to be completely and utterly inept and scared to shoot down this balloon. Now, they said we're going to wait till it gets. They said we're going to wait till it gets over the Atlantic Ocean, and it's like, wait a minute. You're telling me that there wasn't any place when it was flying over, for example, Montana or Alaska, there was no place where you could have shot this thing down or brought this balloon down in order to retrieve the stuff that was on it.
Listen, one of them high-powered BB guns could have brought this thing down, right? But I don't know why we had to wait so long.
Well, of course you don't, because we all know how y'all in Florida attempted to take down this balloon.
This is actual footage from the Chinese spy satellite as it flew over Florida. This is what you got.
For those of you wondering, it's a couple of it's Florida man and his wife or a girlfriend, whatever you want to call her, throwing bottles and cans at the balloon at 60,000 feet.
Yeah. Yep. They'll get it.
Gotta love it. Craig,
actually, I know we're looking at the humorous part of this. Actually, here and folks Google this up. Stories of a second balloon. There might have been more than one. That they're like literal pictures of F-16s chasing a balloon in Montana and in Missouri and shooting it down. So I mean, we know our government's not telling us the truth on this one, and that's usually the rapid recipe for conspiracy theories. But I mean, I'm seeing it reported on legitimate news sites as well. So I'm just curious to see how that develops over the rest of the week.
I will definitely be paying attention.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, before we go, how about a quick shout out to our sponsors once again?
Yeah, let's say hey to our good friends at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net, hitmanindustries.net. Rifle and pistol caliber barrels and rifle and pistol lengths available for you at hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly, fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Get involved in California's future today. And of course, you want some awesome field gear, some tactical gear, some web gear, hiking gear, hunting gear, whatever kind of gear you think you want. Get over to uscombatgear.com.
Folks, once again, please visit our sponsors and let them know that the guys over at The Rundown sent you. Links in the description to the program. And with that, we're going to call it a day. It's going to be a fine, fine rest of the Taco Tuesday, and we will be back tomorrow on Hump Day. Y'all take care. We'll talk to you tomorrow.